in the years, we found out that when you use joint and double degrees as the term for this kind of programs, there can be some confusion and some misunderstandings. So therefore, the overall name joint programs was created, and this is also the term that is used in the Erasmus Mundus program. So joint program we call curricular and study programs that are developed by more than one university, so jointly by 2 or more higher education institutions. So you put together your curriculum that you offer in collaboration with your partner universities. So each university offers a part of the program, and then this program can lead to the award of a double, multiple or joint degree. Of course, it could also lead to the award of a national degree only, but most of the programs will lead to a double or a joint degree, because this is also one of the added values of such programs, that the students can use the diploma in several countries. So you have here some other terms that are used, like co-tutelle de thèse, which is used for joint programs on the doctoral level, and Erasmus joint master's programs, which is the funding scheme of the European Commission for such programs. And then also sometimes universities use the term joint study programs or joint curricula. So you should be aware of different terminology available for such programs, and at the beginning of the implementation process, it will make sense to ask your partner institutions which terminology they use for which meaning, so that you're all on the same page and you all talk about the same thing. So coming back to joint, double, and multiple degree, we use this terminology for the diploma. There is 2 possibilities to use these words. One would be for the diploma, so for the document, or for the qualification. We try to avoid now in Europe to use it for the qualification, because, for example, a double degree for the qualification could mean that students receive 2 qualifications, and this could lead to confusions that they had completed 2 programs. So we use joint degree for a single diploma document. So means that the students completing the program would only get one document issued by the participating higher education institutions for this integrated program, and this diploma would be then recognized in each of the countries where the degree awarding institutions are located as equivalent to their national diploma. As you can imagine, this is the most challenging and the most complicated way to issue a diploma for joint programs, because many countries have also detailed regulations about how a diploma should look like, and it's sometimes difficult to find a compromise for such a document. And it already starts with the paper and the language to be used on the document. The most easiest way is to issue a double or a multiple degree. Here the difference is only the number of higher education institutions involved. So in a double degree, you issue 2 national diplomas for the same program. What we do to avoid the double dipping of qualifications is to put a sentence on the diploma that it is a jointly awarded degree together with a partner institution, so that when the students receive the 2 diplomas with the qualification on it, that it is clear that it only certifies the completion of one study program and not several. And the multiple degree is the same principle, but more than 2 higher education institutions. If you have questions in between, feel free to ask it. The only problem I have is that I cannot see you because I only see see my presentation here. So that's okay.
If,
Why?
Jackie, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. I just want to make a brief statement. If anyone wants to ask a question in between the presentation, as it was suggested, you can raise a hand and I will inform the Ulrika to pay attention to your question, whichever you have. So feel free to raise hands if you need to.
Yeah. So in the next presentation, I will try again to uh, to have a second screen so that I can also see the participants. Yeah, why join programs? Your motivation, of course, the main motivation is to create and implement a high quality, excellent study program for your students, where they can profit from a highly international education. But of course, the implementation of such programs can also have other positive side effects, not only for the students, but also for the institutions. And as I said, as it will involve some additional work and some additional resources, uh, what you should be aware of when starting such a program, then you should be also aware of the different added values such programs could have, and then put a special focus on it, because you cannot cover all of them, of course, in one program. Why now we in our universities are going for joint programs, and we are not, transferring all our study programs in joint programs. So we are very careful by picking out the right subjects and the right topics for such programs. And one positive side effect is that you can not only profit from complementarity, so means that you can um, also profit from focus areas and research areas of your partner institution, where you then can enlarge your capacities by offering courses or modules that you could perhaps not offer alone, but you can also foster excellence in your program by creating a unique profile of this study program. Because what we also try to advertise in our universities is that you should not choose partners where they offer the same as you offer, but to also benefit from complementarity, so that you can put together like a puzzle different areas of interest to your study program, so that students can also take courses in fields you are not able to offer. This would then, of course, increase the attractiveness and also the quality of your educational offer, because you can offer more than you could offer alone. Such a program always provides for intercultural competencies for your students by offering a structured mobility. So these are two added values for your students. The structured mobility helps your students to organize the mobility period easier, because it's already included and integrated in your study plan. And the intercultural competencies, because such programs always involve mandatory mobility at a partner university. So students need to go there, adapt, settle in, and they will get to know different academic traditions. They have to settle in a different environment and different cultural environment. So um, like in regular study programs, but already pre-organized. These kind of programs also provide for the possibility to implement internationalization at home by exchanging staff. So um, various surveys show that only a small percentage of students get international experience by mobility programs. So in those programs where you could implement staff mobility, also your local students could profit from this international experience. In those joint programs, normally academics also work in research cooperations or start new research cooperations in the field. This will then also lead to more international visibility and reputation when you offer those joint programs, because this kind of study programs very often attract especially international students and students who are interested in this international experience. So it's very often a very specific group of students that are attracted in these programs. Yeah, it will facilitate the international cooperation and in some cases increase student recruitment. In the European universities or the European Union universities, these programs are used to attract international students to the universities. Of course, it will also support employability of the graduates because of the international degree. And it offers now also it's a door to some additional third-party funding access like the Erasmus Mundus programs, and some of the universities in some countries, they also have access to national programs that provide for some additional funding. It's not always the case, but yeah, we expect some more funding for those kind of projects in the future, because the European Union is now targeting this new goal of implementing European degrees. So this would be a special qualification that can be issued by complying to criteria that are now set. So there is some working groups that are now creating those criteria, and if the study program fulfills those criteria, the universities will be able to grant this European degree to their graduates. As this is a huge project and the new Erasmus program will be published in 2028, we expect that a big part of the scholarship.
ხმა აღარ ისმის მეგობრებო. I think you're muted.
I guess we lost her voice only because presentation is still there.
So can you hear me again?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Somehow I got muted, but I don't know why. So I will continue with the presentation then.
Right.
Okay, so ignorieren. So yeah, so talking about the key elements of a joint program. Yeah, a joint program is a study program that is jointly developed, and you can implement it in several ways. The main components of those programs are a jointly developed study program, of course, then a cooperation agreement, because you need to agree on the organization of this program with your partner institutions. This involves like the admission and the degree awarding, but also which parts of this program students have to take at which university and so on. So the cooperation agreement is a very important document in these kind of programs. Then it involves a mandatory mobility period at the partner institution. This mobility period should be automatically recognized, so transferred to the university where the student started. And in most of the cases, the program will conclude with the award of a joint double or multiple degree program. You can implement those programs as standalone study programs. So this means that you implement a completely new program, or you can also, what's very often universities do who have still some legal constraints, is to implement it as a track in an existing study program, so that students can choose between taking the regular track, the national track, or the international track in an already existing study program. On the left side, you see level of integration. When we talk about joint programs, we always talk about an integrated program, and you can implement it more integrated or less integrated. So this depends a little bit on how and on your possibilities and how you would like to implement it. So you will see how this can be done in the next slide. I will just change here to the next one. Yeah, as you can see here, there is different levels of integration possible. So the most integrated one would be that one on the right side. So the joint program with joint learning outcomes, a completely integrated study program developed and managed jointly with a joint selection and admission, with a joint structure for quality assurance, joint administration, joint issuing a joint double or multiple degree, and the cooperation regulated by an agreement. This would be also what would be asked for when you apply, for example, for an Erasmus Mundus grant. They will expect you to have this very integrated program implemented. Of course, you can also start with less integrated study programs to have a starting point by only including a mobility window. So you use your own local programs and include a mandatory mobility at a partner institution. This is the added value of a structured mobility, so students do not have to go through this intensive course selection for a regular study mobility program, but the students will not receive a double degree or a joint degree, or a double degree as an integrated study path in your already existing local study programs, where you do not have a jointly developed curriculum as such, but you have, let's say, recognized, transferred parts of the programs, but each university awards its own degree. So you see there is various possibilities as a starting point, but what we say the real integrated joint program would be the one on the right hand side. So next one. Yeah, so you have different formats possible for joint programs. So as I already said, the standalone program or the program track in your existing program. The standalone programs are perhaps more visible, and you have better PR opportunities, and also the admission requirements are more transparent for students. While the program track might be easier in terms of formal setup and accreditation. So when you, for example, have a very complicated approval and accreditation process at your institutions, to start with such programs perhaps would be easier for you. However, as I said, if you are if you're planning to apply for scholarship schemes of the European Commission, then you're expected to implement the fully integrated program. Yeah, just to show you how such a program track could look like. So you have like your program at the University 1 and the program at the university too, and the students just take a mandatory mobility at the other partner university, and the parts which are not taken at the one university where the students started will be just transferred. Like here you see the students who to take the program at University 1 will, for example, spend 30 credits at the University 2, and then come back to University 1, and the University 1 will issue the national diploma. And in a double degree, the University 2 will also issue the diploma to the students, but will have to recognize the other parts. So everything they have not done at University 2, they have to transfer it so that they can also issue the diploma. Um, so if you choose a program like this, you should be aware of the fact that the programs have to be compatible in order to be able to transfer the credits from the other program to your university. Yeah, and the standalone program, you develop a new study program, and of course, and this is always done at our universities, you base this on existing course offers. So very often universities do not implement new courses or new modules for that. They use what they already have and mix and match it and put together a new study program. So in our case, for example, very often students of the joint programs are sitting in the same classes as students in the normal regular programs. You can also organize these standalone programs, what we call cohort programs or decentralized programs. In a cohort program, the students all start together at one university and then move perhaps together at the partner universities or then split to various universities. And the decentralized start would mean that each university offers the program as a so-called entrance university, so students can choose where they want to start a program. Of course, you can implement joint programs on all different levels, on the bachelor level, on the master's level, and also on the doctoral level. However, most of the joint programs are currently offered on the master level because for the bachelor's level, very often additional challenges with regard to the national university entrance requirements are there, or different length of study programs and so on. So on the master's level, it is easier to implement, and also with regard to the target group, so the students you want to attract, it is easier because they already have a first qualification which they then use to enter the master level. On the doctoral level, joint programs are very complex. That's why most of partner universities work with so-called co-tutelle de thèse, which are agreements for a doctoral candidate, but not an agreement for a whole doctoral program. Yeah, so coming back to the success factors, because as I said, joint programs or the implementation of joint programs are quite challenges, because you not only have to put together the study programs of the two universities, but you also have to consider legal requirements of the universities, approval processes, and also organizational structures when organizing study programs, and you have to find a compromise for all those topics. So very important is when you start the creation of such a programs that you know why you are doing it, so that you choose your motivation and that you work on that. Then, of course, identify the right partners. We always recommend to start with partners you already know, so that you already have academic ties and that you can rely on the commitment of the partners, so that you have the support of the academics, so from bottom up, but also the support from the university management, so from top down. You need to organize meetings to discuss the study plan and also the organization of the program. So you need to plan and organize sufficient meetings in advance. I mean, now with all these opportunities of online meetings, it's a little bit easier, but we also recommend to organize on-site meetings because very often they are more efficient than the online meetings. Then ask the right questions from the beginning. So identify all the challenges early enough. We use checklists for that, where we go through all the questions and ask our partner universities to get to know them better. So to identify the different steps and also different challenges we might have. Yeah, implement the clear governance structure of the program. So who is responsible for what? Would you have an academic board? Who can take the decisions? Who will be part of it? And of course, you also need to have the resources for that. Then define your student target group, which is very important. So when you create and develop your study program, to know for which students you would like to do it. Very often also this is in combination with the language policy. When you offer the study program in, for example, in English, then you would most probably attract more international or internationally oriented students to this program than when you implement it in your local language, which could be then problematic for the exchange. But of course, there can be also solutions found for that. Yeah, develop the well-defined program goals and student learning outcomes. This is very important for the success of the program, so that you also can communicate that to potential students afterwards. Yeah, the more the program is integrated, the more it is successful. So this level of integration is very important. So the more joint activities you have in place, the better it is. This is also good for the PR strategy, so that students know about it, and also make this information easily accessible to students. And also think about to ensure enough student support, because for the students, these kind of programs are also a little bit more complicated to organize, as it involves this mandatory mobility. So be clear about support for the admission, for visa, accommodation, and so on. And take care of a good cooperation agreement, as this is the centerpiece of the organization, and your collaboration with the partner university. Yeah, so this would be my first, I think I'm on time, half an hour presentation about the key terminology and what the joint program is about. And then we can go on to the next
Yes.
topic.
Thank you so much. You're exactly on time. Meanwhile, I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that pops up in mind of the people who are actually planning to and thinking about to implement the joint or double degrees in their universities. But we've got one question in the chat section. What are the mandatory requirements to apply for Erasmus Mundus? I'll give an answer from Erasmus Plus office perspective and point of view, and you can adapt from practical experience if you'd like. I'd like to emphasize that Erasmus Mundus has two directions. One is preparatory measures, Erasmus Mundus design measures, and there is another direction, Erasmus Mundus joint masters. These two projects projects can be done separately. There is no obligation to implement the design measures firsthand and then start implementing the joint masters. If you're confident enough, you have good partners who already have experience, you can go and directly start implementing the joint masters. But if you still think that there is a need for the successful implementation of joint masters to have the preparatory measures, you need meetings, you need to develop certain curriculums or study programs and come up with working plans, you can implement these design measures. Like every other Erasmus program, submission for those projects has an annual characteristic, which means that the deadlines for those projects are in February. The calls are already open and available on funding and tenders portal. And according to the guide, any university can participate, higher education university which follows the proper quality assurance standards can participate in joint masters programs. The most important part is that you need good partners on EU level, because you need, for Erasmus Mundus joint masters specifically, you may start joint masters with other programs as well. But if we are talking about Erasmus Mundus joint masters, then you are gonna need 2 different universities in 2 different member states of the European Union. I hope I answered to your question. If Ulrike would like to add anything else to that.
I will have a slide for that in my next presentation. Yeah, but as I said, the Erasmus Mundus program is very competitive, and if you want to apply for a joint master, so already for the study program and not for the design measure, which it would be this preparatory where you can check out if you can work together with your partner universities, but then for the program where you would get scholarships for students and also money for institutional costs, these are very competitive, and you really need to have a very good study program in a specific field with at least 2 partner universities in the European Union, and the students need to study at least 2 universities in the consortium. However, also universities outside the European Union can apply for it. So it's not, in previous program schemes, it was mandatory that the European universities apply, but now in this generation, also universities outside the EU can apply for Erasmus Mundus. Yeah, but they just need to have 2 partners, as they put a very strong emphasis on the joint learning outcomes, and you have a whole set of criteria you need to describe in detail. So the more integrated and jointly described it is, the better it is for the program. And you will get, for each of the criteria, you will get points, and then depending on the number of applications, there will be a threshold for the funding of the programs. But I will get back to that also a little later in this policy section. I put 1 or 2 slides, and I also, in the case studies, I have one Erasmus Mundus program as a case study included.
Wonderful, amazing, and I guess this case study will provide our attendees a more clear answer. Any questions do you have so far? Yes, Mana Navasate, please. Mana Navasate, we cannot hear you, but you can ask a question. So, anyone else? Any questions so far? I would have a question, if you do not mind, and I guess it's an interesting answer to have for the higher education representatives who are attending today's meeting. earlier you mentioned that it's very important to have a clear strategy to which study fields you can apply the joint and double degree programs, and to select the proper participants and higher education institutions who should be involved in those projects. Do you have any criteria or suggestion? How do you evaluate the quality of those institutions to participate in those joint and double degree programs?
Yeah, first, when we select the programs, we have a look at the target group of students we want to attract, because in our case, or in the European universities, they are now facing a drop of student numbers, especially in the master's programs. So the joint programs for us are a good opportunity to attract additional students by providing study programs where we do not have to offer the whole program alone. You see, so that's a question of a little bit cost efficiency, because when you work together with a partner university, you, let's say, buy at least 30 credits or sometimes even 60 credits from the partner universities, so you don't have to put that much courses into the study program, but still get the same amount of students in. So we have a look at the study offers that would attract such students. So those are the topics at the moment, like sustainable development, climate. We also have a program in European studies. So those broader programs where the students can then specialize in specific fields. Currently, a lot of programs focusing on artificial intelligence and cyber security and so on. So these highly international oriented fields. Yeah.
I see. I guess based on the answers you gave us, it's very important that the topic is Eurocentric, which addresses the horizontal priorities. For example, the Erasmus Plus has this is sustainable development, democratic life, digitalization of higher education institutions. So
Exactly.
those topics somehow addresses those priorities. And of course, like conducting a study to have an answer which program would be attractive for students sounds like a good idea before you in universities, I mean, actually start to work on a new project idea. Thank you so much. We have another question in the chat section. How many joint programs do you have at your university?
Yeah, so at our university we have 14. Because we only count those programs who are standalone programs, but there exist, for example, universities who have many of these kind of programs, but they also count this tracks, this double degrees implemented in programs. For example, Italian institutions, they sometimes have a lot of those opportunities integrated in their national programs just as a possibility for the students. So then they have perhaps 2-3 places available to take the study program as a double degree, and they still count that as a joint program as well. We count the programs that we offer as a specific program only for this purpose. Of course, sometimes we use, or very often we use the courses we have already in place for other programs, because we cannot take additional courses, or not so many additional courses. Currently, we're working on 4 new programs. 2 programs are currently implemented in a funding scheme of the French and German government. It's a specific program in Romance studies. So 2 programs we are implementing there, and 2 programs we are implementing within our university alliance, because the University of Graz is member of the University Alliance ARCUS. which is coordinated by the University of Granada with 9 partner universities in Europe. And in this European University Alliance, we have at the moment a big focus on the implementation of joint programs, because the next step would be then to apply for this European degree or label. And so we are at the moment working on 7 new programs within the European University Alliance, and the University of Graz is part in 3 of them. One would be in translation and translation technologies and artificial intelligence, because in the translation programs there is a shift to tools, so we need to also react on this. So they will be working on such a program, and we're also working on enlarging our sustainable development program within the Alliance, and in a program in environmental digital law. So very often also these joint programs are very specific, small programs in very specific fields. So yeah, that's
Thank
what
you.
we're currently working on.
Thank you. May I ask one last question? Generally, what is the success rate of those study programs, joint and double degree programs, to keep the sustainability and continuation over the years so that they do not fail? What is the success rate, generally speaking, in your case?
I mean, we have more successful and less successful programs, but as I already said on the slide of the success factors, the more visible and the more integrated the programs are, the more they are successful. So the less successful programs in our case are programs that are taught in German, because we have a smaller target group here. And then our students prefer to go to the regular local programs because for them it's easier. The most successful programs we have are our international programs, where we have about 50% students coming from other European countries and 50% of students coming from outside Europe. So we have a lot of interest from students coming from Asia, currently from India to Pakistan, and in this area also from South America, and sometimes from the US, especially from students coming from diaspora groups, who then have a family connection to Europe and come for the master programs. So those programs are very successful, and also those who offer a specialized program in a field which can be then immediately applied. So it's also important to not focus in these kind of programs too much on research-based programs, so where you train students for academia afterwards, but really for the work market. So really have a look at the job opportunities at the end of the program. Then you will also attract students for the programs.
I see. Thank you. Baja, Kelly,
Hello.
question.
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Great. So first of all, thank you for your information. It was really interesting for us. So just I wanted to clarify one issue because of the fact that very soon I will start working with the program with one of the European countries. So just I wanted to clarify the issue. If the program already exists in Georgia, if the program already exists in one of the European country, is it always necessary to receive the accreditation to the European side, to the European institution, or is it sometimes the exceptional situation, or this is just standard situation? I think that it's also some country-specific issue, or just there is some general rule about this whole process.
Yeah, there is no general rule, unfortunately. So when we come to the next presentation about the EU policy, I will also talk about that fact that you always need to follow the regulations of the country concerned. So where is this university located?
It's from Latvia.
From Latvia.
Yeah.
So the Baltic countries, they have, I think, a mandatory accreditation procedure. It depends a little bit, you know, when the program already exists, but you put it together with a partner university, it is still a new program. So I know, for example, in Germany, in some of the lender in Germany, they can avoid an extra accreditation when they use an existing program, because they can just use the accreditation of the existing program. But this is not always the case in every country. So in some countries, every time you adapt, even if you adapt an existing program, they would need an additional accreditation. But this depends on the institution and on the country concerned.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact situation of Latvia, but we have a cooperation with Lithuania, and I think that they have like similar structures there.
Yeah. Most of the Baltic countries are mostly just have the similar legislation, but yeah, as I understood, it's more country-specific issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mana Novosada has another question. You can ask a question. And we will carry on with the next presentation in order to catch up with the time. Mana Novosada from Technical University. Okay, I guess we can continue with the next presentation.
Okay, so I'm not an expert in Google Meets, I already said, because normally I always do it with, but I think, yes, and then
we see the presentation.
Okay. Yeah. So in this presentation, I will talk about, I have to say I have combined the two presentations. So if you want me to stop after the policies and then continue with the challenges later after a break, because I combined the two in one, because I will need a little bit more time for the implementation. But we can be very flexible here. You just tell me if I should stop.
If it is more comfortable for you, as you prefer.
I don't mind.
So
I tried to squeeze the most important information into this very short TAM, which I normally do in 2 days, you know.
Yes, it was very very surprised to get this confirmation at the very end of the year. So we are doing our best to actually make it happen.
Yeah, but I hope. I mean, I will send you all the presentations anyway, and I will also can send you the tools I will present, like the checklist and so on, so that you can make use of it then in your follow-up meeting as well.
Yes. Now, if you combine the presentation, you can combine it after that. Lasha Markishvili will talk about the local situation with regard to joint and double degree programs and the challenges country might have, and then we can use a little bit of break to have a minute breaks, and then we will continue with the implementation and the roadmap strategies, how to implement those programs.
Okay, so then I will just do the whole thing, and then we'll see if we want to have the break afterwards or after the presentation of the colleague from Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Good. So yeah, the policies. as I already said in the answer to the question, there is no uniform regulation for the development and implementation of joint programs in the EU because of the principle of subsidiarity in higher education of the European Union, that higher education and education in general is governed at the national level. So all regulations we have to take into consideration are national regulations, which also makes it very often very complicated for us in the European Union to implement joint programs, because we have to find compromises for the different national regulations. And those regulations are not only regulations for the implementation of study programs, but also regulations about the organization of study programs, and also regulations about the approval and the accreditation of study programs. There is now going on already for, I think it's 20 years already, the idea of, let's say, harmonizing this a little bit better, but still, you know, there is a lot of countries, they say, okay, we want to keep our national regulations for the study programs, and we don't want to have a unified regulations for that. Therefore, many higher education institutions try to align their practices with the guidelines of the Erasmus Mundus Master Program. So this are the guidelines for how to structure, create the study program and what you consider in the study program. But of course, you will still need to find the compromises with regard to the national regulations for the development and the implementation of study programs. Yeah, the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Programs are supposed to be high-level integrated transnational study programs at master level. So really excellence programs. You don't have many of them. You have perhaps one or two at your institution of those very high quality programs. They should be programs of excellence. In principle, they are open to all disciplines, but you know, also a focus is put on the discipline you apply for. When you apply for the funding, for example, they will not fund very broad general programs that exist everywhere, but they like to fund very specialized programs. Yeah, those Erasmus Mundus master programs have to be delivered by an international consortium of higher education institutions from different countries worldwide, and other educational partners. The evaluators like to see many partners in those programs, also partners that can offer internships or practices and so on. And the Erasmus Mundus program will then offer high-level scholarships to excellent students. There is also always a big competition among the students to receive those scholarships because they are really very attractive. There's a 1,400 euros scholarship per student, no matter where they study. So, for example, when they study for a year in a country with lower living costs, then this could be very attractive for the students. Yeah, so the requirements, the main requirements are that it is a jointly designed, fully integrated curriculum, and for the joint master program, so where you receive the scholarships for the students, it already has to be in place when you apply for it. So you cannot apply and then develop it, but you already need to have it in place. And it should involve joint selection, joint promotion, common services offered jointly as well, joint administrative and financial management, and etc. So the more you have joint in there, the better it is. So it has to be delivered by a consortium of at least 3 higher education institutions from different countries, of which at least 2 must be program means EU countries. Students have to take at least 2 study periods in 2 countries with a minimum duration of 1 academic semester each. So they have to study at least at one EU institution and at another institution. But of course, you can also involve more than two study periods, or then a third study period at another institution that only offers an intensive program or a summer school. Contribution of guests, scholars or guest lecturers, and the delivery of a joint degree or multiple degree or a double degree. The joint degree gets more points than the double or the multiple degree. Okay, so obviously I have the same. So I'm going backwards. Yeah. So another policy of the European Union is what we always call the European approach. The European approach for quality assurance provides a standardized methodology for the accreditation of joint programs. It is a document that was signed by the ministers in Yerevan in, I don't remember the year, 2019, 18 or something like that. And it should or could be used in case it is possible. Not all countries have implemented it, to replace the national accreditation by a joint European accreditation. And the European degree, I already talked about it, is a new initiative by the European Commission for a common framework of a European degree. So at the moment, they're working on the criteria for that, and those criteria are based also on the Erasmus Mundus criteria and also on the criteria of the European approach for quality assurance. For example, currently it's under discussion that one of the main criteria will be the award of a joint degree and a minimum mobility of 2 institutions, and there is a whole set of different criteria under development. The process just started. There was some pilot projects going on last year that are now used for the new policy. And I was in the information session of the ministry in Austria, because I'm part of this policy group that is also working on the implementation of this blueprint of the European degree in Austria, by checking the barriers for that on the national level, especially on the national law regulations level. So coming back to the European approach, the key idea here is a single evaluation procedure without applying additional national criteria. So we have used that in 3 programs. So we have used that, for example, in our program in European Studies, where we have 4 partner universities. So the University of Granada in Spain, the University of Graz in Austria, the University of Leipzig in Germany, and the University of Vilnius in Lithuania. So in the 3 of the 4 countries, in Spain, in Germany, and in Lithuania, there is a mandatory accreditation necessary for new programs. So that means all new programs have to go through a national accreditation procedure. This would have meant that the same program should go through the accreditation in Granada, so in Spain, through accreditation in Germany, and through accreditation in Lithuania, which not only means a lot of work, a lot of preparatory work, but also you need to pay for it, because the accreditation agencies in most countries are not doing that for free. except in Spain, they don't have to pay for the national accreditation. So in this case, in Austria, we have no mandatory accreditation of study programs because the public universities in Austria are self-accredited institutions. So we only have an internal approval procedure. So we discussed what we should do about this accreditation thing, and then we asked each country if they are able to use the European approach for the accreditation. So all 3 countries with the mandatory accreditation are able to use it. So we chose one accreditation agency located in Germany who followed this European approach accreditation, and the University of Granada in Spain and the University of Vilnius in Lithuania were able to take this decision equivalent to the national accreditation, and they did not have to follow an additional national accreditation. So this is a big added value when in your country you are able to use this European approach accreditation instead of the various national accreditations. And here you can only see that there is some standards. You have to fill out a self-evaluation report where you have to describe your program and following these standards. So that's the idea of this European approach. So let's see if I can, yeah. So more or less, these are the main policies with regard to joint programs. Yeah, so the main challenge is to overcome the different national regulations. So even when you work with European Union countries, each of the countries which will apply their regulations, even though they have already done some changes in national regulations to make it easier for joint program implementation, but in some countries they have very strict rules they have to follow when it comes to study programs implementation, and this might cause some challenges in working together with those institutions. And each country has various challenges. And therefore, there is no template or no, let's say, blueprint for a ideal joint program, because each joint program is always unique, because it always depends on the partner institutions and on the countries involved, and you have to find your compromises and your common ground with the partners. So should I continue with the challenges, or do you want to step in now here?
I'd like to ask Lasha. Lasha, if you'd like to jump in, Lasha Markishvili is already.
Yes, hello, Mariam. Hello.
Hello, Lasha. If you can talk about the general situation, about the current Georgian situation and the challenges we might face while implementing the joint double degree programs, and then Ulrike will continue with her part.
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I would like to welcome the international expert, Ulrike. The presentation was very interesting, really, and I'm sure that this presentation was very useful for our Georgian colleagues as well. According to our legal framework, what we have in Georgia regarding the evaluation of joint degree programs, first of all, I have to mention that the law on higher education defines the content of the joint program, and according to this law, the joint program could be finished in different ways. So first is that after graduating the joint program, the universities who are involved in the implementation of the program can issue one diploma, and in the diploma, of course, the university should sign the document together. The second option is that universities may issue two or more diplomas. It depends on how many universities are involved in the implementation of the program. And the third one is that one university may issue the diploma and the others may issue the certificate as well. So these are the options how the joint diploma program could finish, and the graduates could receive either one or two or more diplomas. Regarding the accreditation process, now we have about 10 international joint programs in Georgia, and all of them are accredited. So we have received the accreditation applications from Georgian universities, and they indicate in the self-evaluation report that those programs were jointly implemented. And in the evaluation process, we assess the content, of course, the program and the resources. The international partners in the accreditation process are involved fully online, and we have the interview processes with the international partners of the Georgian universities. And we ask them several questions, how they see the implementation of the joint program, how they are involved, what is the ratio of the involvement of the international university in the implementation process of the program, and etc. But before submitting the application for the accreditation to us, the first step is that the university should sign an agreement between each other, and we have the order of the director of the agency which defines the main principles, what should be included in the agreement. For example, what are the admission criteria, what are the internal quality assurance mechanisms for the joint program, what is the distribution of the courses between the universities. For example, if the local student should last semester or 2 semesters, it depends on the agreement between the universities. So first step is that the university should agree with our agency, quality assurance agency, this agreement. After we agree with the agreement, they can submit the application for the accreditation. In the accreditation process, as I have already mentioned, we set the panel, and the panel reviews and they assess the program, resources, and of course, in the process, we ask the Georgian University that the international partners also should be involved, and we have the online interviews. Moreover, in the accreditation process, we use the European approach on the evaluation of joint programs, and we mean that the head of the panel is the international expert, and especially the expert who has experience and knowledge of the local system in which the country where the Georgian University is going to start the program. And the very recent experience what we have the evaluation is for the doctoral program with the Athens University, and we invite the international expert from Greece, who was the chair of the panel, and the other members were Georgian colleagues, and together we evaluate this program. Yes. So I think that we have a very good experience, our agency, in the evaluation process of both international and local joint programs, and we fully encourage the Georgian HEIs to start the implementation of programs jointly. This somehow enhance and improves and gives the more opportunities to the universities to consolidate the resources. It's a very good way to consolidate especially human resources when the university thinks that they do not have enough human resources for the implementation of the program, the outcome and the solution of the program could be to implement this program jointly with local or international partners. I have to add one point as well, that we have the procedure of the recognition of accreditation that is obtained that is conducted by the international agency as well. We have in this case like different procedures. First, I have to mention that if the program is already accredited as a joint program by the foreign organization who's a member of ENQA and ECA, we have like automatic recognition, and we are not looking for the additional requirements of additional QA mechanisms what we used in the accreditation process. The second, we have that the accreditation could be done by other agency, for the US agency, and in that case we do not have automatic recognition, and in this frame we are looking for the accreditation standards and procedures that were used in the accreditation process. If they are more or less similar criteria and procedures that are defined by ESG 2015. And in this case, we are looking for these areas. And the third option is if the agency is located in the other country than the US, for example, in Japan or in other state. In that case, we do the recognition only in the case when there is an international agreement between the countries. So also this is an option for the universities not to apply to us, to apply for the international recognized agency, and in that case we will recognize the accreditation. Yes. These are the main areas and the main topics that we are looking for the accreditation of joint programs. So to conclude and to sum up, so the joint program could issue the one diploma, or it also can issue the two diplomas as well. So it's up to the universities how they will agree between each other and what will be the agreement. So the Georgia legislation is quite flexible in this way. And also one more opportunity that the joint program have, and this kind of opportunity do not have other programs that are not joint programs. That you know that we have the bachelor degree programs, minimum 4-year programs we have, but if we are talking about the joint international program, also the 3-year programs can be implemented in this case as well, according to the legal requirements, local legal requirements what we have in Georgia. And if our colleagues who have any kind of questions, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lasha. Ulrike, if you have questions?
Concerning the diploma, do you have special requirements how they have to look like?
Yes, so we have the Minister's Legal Act, which defines the framework and the form of the diploma. And in case of joint program, we have some exceptions, and not all the requirements are necessary to be included in this form. We had some cases when the university wanted to issue one diploma with the international partner, and the international partner refused to sign the diploma which was drafted according to our legislation and reforms. And in a case, we suggested to our partners that in that case they can issue 2 diplomas, 1 diploma, which was issued by the local HEI, and this diploma was fully in line with Georgia legislation. And also our international partner issued a diploma which was in line with the state legal requirements. This could be then a solution of this kind of issues.
Thank you. If anyone has questions with Lasha, you can also use that opportunity.
No question, because the majority of the attendees, they already know the legal requirements what we have here, because we have the practice and experience of implementing the joint program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lasha. You can continue if you would like to add anything else, or we can use a break. How do you prefer, Ulrike?
I think there is some echo. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now it's good. I think I will just shortly continue with the challenges and then have a break, and then we have like case study and implementation. Would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Because otherwise, perhaps afterwards, it would be too much.
I understand. We can continue as you see it's the most fit.
Okay. Can you see now the presentation?
Yes, we see the presentation.
Okay, good. I just wanted to shortly talk about some challenges we always face, and perhaps also to give some solutions. I already said that one of the primary challenges is very often that the partners don't talk about the same thing because they have different interpretations of the key terms. So very important is that when you start working with new partners, that you first address this and check if everybody speaks about the same when using the terms. Of course, identifying the right partners is very crucial. We always recommend to work with trusted partners where you already have some other projects with where you perhaps have some successful exchange projects or other collaborations on projects, or also research and so on. Then one of the biggest challenges is to get together the different legal regulations and to find a compromise of the legal frameworks of the various partners, especially the mutual recognition of academic achievements, because when you award the degree, the students might not study the whole program at your institution. So you need to be aware that you have to transfer and recognize also the other credits to your institution, and also regarded awarding of the academic degree, and also the organizational management of the study program. So there might be different barriers, like what we always have, for example, how often can a student take an exam, for example? Is it possible to resit an exam? Is it possible to prolong the studies? How long does a student take for the thesis writing, for example? Different universities might have different regulations for that. Can you combine them, and so on? Also regarding exams and gradings, grade conversion charts, and so on. So this is the tricky thing. Then awarding of the academic degree, as I said, the awarding of a joint degree is not possible in many countries due to legal or organizational reasons. That's why in many cases the award of a double or multiple degree is favorized. Then you already said that even though in most of the so-called Bologna countries, the 3+2 structure was implemented, there also exist several countries where they have different structures implemented, like the 4+1. For example, when you work with Spain, they also have a 4+1 structure that might cause some issues, especially on the master levels, also to attract students from those countries, because when they can take a 1-year master in Spain, who should take a 2-year master somewhere else? So that's topics you have to address, or if there are also legal barriers for implementing a different structure. Then the language proficiency, this may also cause sometimes an issue, especially when you rely on existing courses or on existing programs where most of the courses are taught in local languages. So you need to find a way to overcome those language barriers. Many of the joint programs are now implemented in English taught only, but of course, in the European Commission there is, or in the European Union, there is the initiative to support local languages. So, for example, this European degree label will, in the future, for sure, also foresee some criteria with regard to the promotion of local languages other than English in the programs. But this is also a question of language proficiency of lecturers. So when you want to implement the study program taught in English only, of course, you also need to have all the lecturers that are able to teach in English, which, for example, in some of our programs would be problematic. Then financing, it is particularly challenging harmonizing the different financing systems, especially within the European Union. There exist different financing mechanism of higher education. There is various countries where the higher education is financed by tax money, so it is a public good, and students do not pay tuition fees for the university studies. And there exist other countries where the studies are financed also by having very high fees. So when you work together between institutions that have different financing mechanisms, this might be challenging to overcome it. Because, for example, for us, it would be a big disadvantage if we ask for high fees, because Austrian students who normally do not pay fees for university studies, they really would need to see a very high added value taking a study program where they have to pay fees for. So then other countries have the problem when we, for example, have decentralized fee structure, so each university asks for its own fees, that those countries who have high fees might have a competition problem by attracting students when you have partners where they have not to pay fees and partners where they have to pay fees. So this is a big topic, and especially have a look at it when you work with countries where they have no fees when you have fees, and vice versa. Then organization and management. Yeah, so the different organizational structures and administrative processes at the universities also have to be aligned, of course, in such programs. So, for example, when you have specific requirements for admission procedures, for example, in some countries they have very strict procedures when it comes to the check of educational documents. They need to have a legalization or other authentications, or also in some countries they have very strict language requirements with where they require language certificates and so on. So You need to find also compromises here, and sometimes you need to implement those programs outside your institutional workflows because very often they require individual solutions. Yeah, and then a big topic are the approval procedures and accreditation of different in the different countries. So each country will have to implement and approve and accredit, if necessary, the new study programs. So this also always has an effect on the other partner institution. For example, when you have your own accreditation procedure, this also needs to be okay for your partner institution. And for example, if your accreditation agency requires changes in the program, then these changes will also affect the other partner institution. Very often also this is very lengthy and takes some time, so you need to be aware of that right from the beginning. So this is one of the first questions I always ask partner institutions when we start a development process, is to know the procedures for the approval and the accreditation, how long it takes, and when documents have to be ready and finalized, so that we can start from this point. So when we know, okay, documents have to be finalized by that date, then we know how much time we have for the whole development process.
If I may
Yes.
ask, generally, how much time does it take to prepare for a successful joint or double degree program? What
Yeah,
is the
so
preparation period?
the minimum time we calculate is 1 year for the development, so putting everything together, and 1 year for the approval procedures.
On a third year, it's possible to actually start
Yes.
implementing
So
the teaching process.
when it is possible, we normally do the approval procedures while we already have a first call for applications. So, for example, the approval procedure in Austria will finish in May, June, for example. We already take students in September. So we already have a first application period in spring, and we already know more or less if this is only a procedure and there won't be any no or so. So we talk to the decision makers, and we put a small sentence in the call, depending on the final decision, but we still start with the promoting, because otherwise we would have to wait another year to start promoting and the application period.
And
So,
lose 1 year, basically.
but 2 years you need to calculate when you start. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So other challenges might be financial and infrastructural constraints, research infrastructure and capabilities. For example, I had also a TAM with like countries in the Middle East, so this could be for them a challenge also to have like financial constraints, also with regard to the organization of the mobility, to have enough scholarships available, and also to have enough money to provide for the infrastructure for the incoming students. And also sometimes credit transfer is not always that easy. So you need to find solutions for that. Oops. Yeah, I think this is my last slide in this challenges section. We can have a short question round if you want, and then have a short coffee break.
If you have questions about this, about the topics we have already discussed so far, please feel free to ask questions, make comments or suggestions even.
Yeah, so on this meta level, sometimes very difficult to catch. So after the coffee break, I will continue with some cases. So then it's easier to to catch it, perhaps.
Yeah. All right. So far, we don't have questions, but we can use like 15 minutes break for now for a coffee. Unfortunately, we are not able to offer you today. Maybe next time we will manage to conduct similar events in a face-to-face offline format. So we can have a break till 2 p.m. Georgian time. So
Okay.
see you soon.
See you.
We will be back soon.